camera. Give it off, down.
Give it. It's hard to believe that Pixar has only been around the movie business for 15 years or so. At this point, it feels like they're almost legendary with a string of 10 fantastic movies that have practically redefined the business of family-friendly entertainment, especially in the sense that you don't actually need to be a child to enjoy any of their films. Now, saying that a Pixar film is half good only makes sense when you compare it to the rest of the Pixar stable of films. Even Pixar at their worst is still generally going to be more enjoyable than, say, your average DreamWorks animation movie. With that said, I'm gonna throw some numbers at you. 100, 91, 100, 95, 98, 97, 74, 96, 96, 98, and 99. Now, if you notice a little trend to those numbers, how most of them are awfully close to 100, that's because the Rotten Tomato meter, an admittedly flawed way of looking at the critical acclaim that films earn, only goes to 100, which indicates that while not everyone might have loved the film, everybody at least liked it. Those are, of course, the numbers for each of the 11 Pixar films, with that awkward 74 that mars their streak of exceptional critical receptions belonging to, of course, Cars. A film that was received with something of an from critics and was actually Pixar's least successful film at the worldwide box office of the last decade. It made Disney billions of dollars in merchandise sales though, so it's no surprise that it's the first Pixar film to get a sequel other than Toy Story, even though most film fans would probably rather see a sequel to any of their other films before Cars 2. With all that said though, let's take a look at some of the reasons that Cars is only half good. The bad, Lightning McQueen. There are a million movies that have protagonists that start out cocky and arrogant only to learn their lesson and become better people over the course of the film. That said, it's rarely a trope that Pixar uses. Most of their heroes are people who are genuinely kind and good-hearted from the beginning, allowing us to easily like them right away. Lightning McQueen, though, starts out as a preening, vain, unlikable person, or car, and it's not until we're deep into the first hour of the film that he finally starts turning around on us.
There's a lot more to racing than just winning. I mean, taking the race by a full lap? Where's the entertainment in that? No, I wanted to give the folks a little sizzle.
Sizzle?
And am I sure I don't have a crew chief? No, I'm not, because I'm a one-man show.
What? Oh, yeah, right.
That was a very confident Lightning McQueen.
It's difficult to overcome that first impression, though. And you know, even if you're watching a film about Paris Hilton learning valuable life lessons and becoming an upstanding member of the community, you will still start out with Paris Hilton.
What's your name?
You don't know my name?
McQueen, even if he does have an awesome namesake, is arguably the least memorable or likable Pixar hero.
Don't leave me here! I'm in hillbilly hell! My IQ's dropping by the second! I'm becoming one of them!
The good, the animation and CGI. Like it or not, Cars is a beautiful film to look at. The cars may be a bit awkward at times and are definitely too cartoony for their own good, but there's a lot of variety to the characters. What really impresses me are the backdrops though. The art crew does a great job of bringing the American Southwest to life, with expansive desert vistas, a nice little forest segment, and some generally wonderful racing sequences. It's all really colorful, even if it is the kind of colorful that I normally associate with films made exclusively for children.
Hey, yo, DJ! What up?
We got ourselves a nodder.
That said, it's still one of Pixar's most impressive films in terms of its overall sheen, and that's obviously saying something. The bad, 2/3 of the voice acting.
You need a new paint job, man.
No, thank you.
How about some organic fuel?
That freak juice?
Pass.
Woo! Watching him work is making me thirsty. Anybody else want something to drink?
Nah, not me, Flo. I'm on one of them special diets. I'm a precisional instrument of speed and aromatics.
It's hard to lump everyone in the cast into this bad segment, but even so, one cannot ignore the fact that Pixar allowed Larry the Cable Guy to be a major part of one of their films. A misstep that will only be topped if they cast Fran Drescher in the lead of their next movie.
You know, I once knew this girl, Doreen. Good-looking girl. Looked just like a Jaguar, only she was a truck. You know, I used to crash into her just so I could spoke to her.
What are you talking about?
Mater doesn't feel like an affectionate nod to Dumb Hicks. He simply is a dumb hick, and is as annoying as you might expect. The other voice acting here ranges from the unprofessional, in the case of most of the race car drivers, to the bizarrely ethnic in characters that seem to inhabit Radiator Springs.
No. You will have your chance, Guido. You will have your chance.
There's a southern guy, the Italian guy, the Mexican guy, the hippie, etc. It's great that Pixar feels like they need to be inclusive, but it also feels like a bit of shallow inclusiveness that is usually left to bad sitcoms. And while Owen Wilson might be a big movie star, he doesn't really have the voice needed to carry this film on his own. He sounds a bit lost at times, like he doesn't really know how to make his kind of average character sound any more interesting.
Whoa, easy now, Mater. You know who you're talking to. This is Lightning McQueen. I can handle anything.
The Good, the other third of the voice acting.
Music, sweet music.
It's a little sad that Paul Newman's film career ended with Cars, but he plays his role of a washed-up, small-town race car with aplomb.
I knew you couldn't drive. I didn't know you couldn't read.
You're the Hudson Hornet.
Wait over it flows, like I told you.
Of course, I can't believe
We might remember Newman more for his blue eyes and his voice, but he still has a great one. And as a longtime car enthusiast, I'm sure he was happy to end his career in a film about racing, even if it was an animated one.
Okay, look, Grandpa, I'm not a bulldozer. I'm a race car.
Oh, is that right? Then why don't we just have a little race, me and you?
Longtime Pixar voice actress Bonnie Hunt's also a welcome presence as the kinda tokeny love interest Sally Carrera. The UK version of this film gets bonus points by casting Jeremy Clarkson as McQueen's agent Harv, but unfortunately the US version doesn't even get that pleasure, as he was replaced by Jeremy Piven because, hey, he plays that agent on that show, I guess?
Buddy?
My star client disappears off the face of the earth? How do you think I'm doing?
Harv, I can explain.
I'm doing great! You're everywhere, baby. Radio, TV, the papers. You can't buy this kind of publicity. What do you know?
The Bad, an un-Pixar-like tone. Criticizing a film's tone is often a wishy-washy way of saying you don't like something about it without saying precisely what that is, but it still feels valid when it comes to Cars. This is a movie that indulges in more real-world references than most Pixar films do, which is something that I expect more out of something like Shrek.
Unprecedented.
Beyond the obvious NASCAR references, including using the voices of a bunch of racers that you have to be a fan of the sport to recognize, there's also a Jay Leno cameo of all things.
I don't know what's harder to find. Lightning McQueen or crew chief who'll work with him.
Lightning McQueen must be found at all costs.
An extended sequence on cow tipping. And even a goddamn tramp stamp reference, which is just really weird to see two cars talking about.
Pinstriping tattoo back there?
Oh, that's just, oh.
It doesn't feel like it has a Pixar script, which might be a result of having 13 different people get some level of story credit on the film. By far the most of any film Pixar's yet made. It's also a schmaltzy, pandering movie too, with a pat ending and an unsatisfying emotional climax.
Chick Hicks and Lightning McQueen in a 200-lap winner-takes-all tiebreaker race.
If Pixar's films were a mixtape a friend gave to you, most of the movies would be classic songs that you can re-listen to over and over again. But Cars would stick out as being the top 40 song that they threw in there because it was popular at the time. Cars, in other words, is the filmic version of Nickelback or that Hey Soul Sister song. It's not unwatchable the first time, but it lacks the kind of nourishment or emotional richness that the rest of Pixar's library has in spades. In that sense, it's difficult to understand why it deserves a sequel, until you loop back